A Louisiana State Trooper's body cam captured the scene at 4:47 p.m. on July 29, 2020. Louisiana Highway 17 near Winnsboro, a black Chevrolet Camaro speeding. A routine traffic stop. Bullet holes in the driver's side door. And in the trunk, the body of a 23-year-old man. The trooper had pulled over 18-year-old Michael Dwayne Mitchell Jr. for speeding. Mitchell admitted he'd been smoking marijuana. He consented to a search. The trooper noticed the bullet holes immediately. 3 puncture wounds in the metal. Recent damage. Fresh paint scratches around the entry points. He searched the interior first. The passenger seat. The back seat. Nothing unusual. Then he moved to the trunk. The body was curled in the confined space. No blanket. No covering. The trooper's camera captured the moment of discovery. His voice shaking. His hand still on the trunk lid. His name was Michael Robinson Jr., 23 years old, a graduating senior at Grambling State University in Monroe, Louisiana. He'd been weeks away from completing his degree. His cousin, Adrian Harris, would later say Robinson had dreams of becoming a Louisiana State Trooper. He'd already prepared his application. He was planning to move to Dallas, start his life there, get an apartment. Robinson was lively, positive, the kind of person everyone noticed when he walked into a room. When he went missing on July 29th, his family knew immediately something was wrong. Robinson always stayed in touch, always called, always checked in. That wasn't like him. The trooper radioed for backup. He secured Mitchell at the rear of the patrol vehicle. Mitchell's hands were cuffed, his head down. The trooper asked questions. Mitchell's answers were fragmented, inconsistent. He mentioned a robbery. He said someone named Mike was in the trunk. When pressed, he admitted the body was Michael Robinson Jr. Robinson had been shot multiple times. The exact number of wounds would be determined by the medical examiner. But the bullet holes in the car door told part of the story. The shooting had been close range, violent, final. Michael Robinson Jr. was pronounced dead at the scene. His body was transported to the medical examiner's office. The black Camaro was impounded as evidence, and 18-year-old Michael Mitchell Jr. was taken into custody. He was arrested on preliminary charges of second-degree murder. The investigation had only begun, but the body cam footage had captured everything that mattered. The bullet holes, the body, the confession. The trooper had pulled over a speeding car on a bright July afternoon. What he found in the trunk would become one of the most disturbing murder cases in Louisiana that year. July 29, 2020. Michael Robinson Jr. woke up in Monroe, Louisiana. He was 23 years old, weeks away from graduation. He had plans, a future mapped out. Dallas was waiting, an apartment, a job, maybe a career with Louisiana State Police. His application was ready to submit. He'd told his cousin Adrian about it, about the move, about starting fresh. Robinson was excited, hopeful. That morning, nothing suggested the day would end any differently than it began. At some point that afternoon, Robinson crossed paths with 18-year-old Michael Mitchell Jr. from Richwood. The two knew each other. Robinson's cousin would later confirm that. What brought them together on July 29th remains partially unclear. But what is known is this: Mitchell was planning a robbery. According to Mitchell's later confession to Louisiana State Police, he and Robinson drove to Brown Street in Richwood, Louisiana. Mitchell claimed another person was involved, a 19-year-old named Cameron Powell. Mitchell told investigators that Powell was the one who pulled the trigger. The details Mitchell provided painted a brutal picture. The armed robbery happened around 5 p.m. on Brown Street. During the robbery, Robinson was shot, not once, multiple times. The gunfire was close range, execution style. Robinson didn't have a chance. Mitchell told police that Powell had planned the robbery, that Powell had fired the weapon, that Powell had instructed him to dispose of the body and the vehicle. Mitchell claimed he was just the driver, just following orders, just trying to help a friend. After Robinson was shot, Mitchell loaded his body into the trunk of the black Camaro. Robinson's own car, the vehicle he'd been driving. Mitchell got behind the wheel. He drove away from Brown Street in Richwood. His destination, a location in Winnsboro that Powell had allegedly provided. A place to dump the body. A place to abandon the car. Mitchell drove north on Louisiana Highway 17. The body in the trunk. Bullet holes in the driver's side door. Evidence of the crime visible to anyone who looked closely enough. But Mitchell kept driving. He was heading toward Winnsboro, toward the disposal site. He never made it. Around 4:47 p.m., a Louisiana State Trooper noticed the black Camaro speeding on Highway 17 near Winnsboro. The trooper activated his lights. Mitchell pulled over. He stepped out of the car when instructed. His hands were shaking. The trooper smelled marijuana. Mitchell admitted he'd been smoking. He consented to a search. The trooper walked around the vehicle. That's when he noticed the bullet holes. 3 of them. Driver's side. Fresh damage. He searched the interior first. Then he opened the trunk. Michael Robinson Jr.'s body was curled inside. No attempt had been made to conceal it. No blanket, no tarp, just a young man's body in the trunk of his own car. The trooper's bodycam captured the moment. His voice, "Oh my God, oh my God." Mitchell's plan had failed. The disposal site in Winnsboro would remain unreached. The body would not be dumped. The car would not be abandoned. Instead, Mitchell stood on the side of Louisiana Highway 17 in handcuffs. A state trooper on his radio. Backup on the way. Robinson had been dead less than 2 hours. His family didn't know yet. His cousin, Adrian, was still waiting for him to check in, to call, to text, to do what Robinson always did. But that call would never come. Louisiana State Police secured the scene on Highway 17. Additional troopers arrived within minutes. The black Camaro was photographed from every angle. The bullet holes were documented. The trunk was processed for evidence. Robinson's body was carefully removed and transported to the medical examiner's office. Mitchell was read his Miranda rights at the scene. He was placed in the back of a patrol vehicle. The trooper who'd made the discovery asked questions. Mitchell's answers were recorded on Bodycam. He admitted the body was Michael Robinson Jr. He said they knew each other. He mentioned a robbery. He named Cameron Powell. Detectives from the Louisiana State Police arrived to take over the investigation. They interviewed Mitchell at length. According to the affidavit filed in 4th Judicial District Court, Mitchell confessed to his role in the crime. He told investigators that he and Powell had planned and executed an armed robbery on Brown Street in Richwood around 5 p.m. that day. Mitchell claimed Powell was the shooter. He said Powell fired multiple shots at Robinson during the robbery. He said Powell told him to take the body and the car to a location in Winnsboro and leave both there. Mitchell said he was driving to that location when he was pulled over for speeding. Based on Mitchell's statements, investigators obtained a warrant for Cameron Powell's arrest. Powell, 19, was located at his residence in Monroe that same evening. He was taken into custody without incident. Detectives executed a search warrant at Powell's home. The results of that search were not disclosed in public records. Both Mitchell and Powell were transported to Ouachita Correctional Center. Both were charged with second-degree murder. Both were held on $500,000 bond. The medical examiner's autopsy confirmed that Robinson had been shot multiple times. The exact number and location of the wounds were not publicly released, but the cause of death was clear. Multiple gunshot wounds. Homicide. Investigators processed the Camaro for additional evidence. They documented the bullet holes in the driver's side door. They collected shell casings if any remained in the vehicle. They swabbed for DNA. They photographed the trunk where Robinson's body had been found. The crime scene on Brown Street in Richwood was also processed. Detectives canvassed the area for witnesses. They looked for surveillance cameras. They searched for shell casings or other physical evidence. The investigation revealed that Robinson had been shot at that location. The physical evidence matched Mitchell's confession. Investigators also examined Mitchell's and Powell's phones. They looked for text messages, calls, or social media communications that might reveal the planning of the robbery. They checked for any evidence of coordination between the two suspects. The contents of those digital searches were not made public. Robinson's family was notified of his death that evening. His cousin, Adrian Harris, would later tell media that when Robinson went missing, they knew something was wrong. That wasn't like him. Robinson always checked in, always called. The family had been waiting for that call when police arrived instead. Within 48 hours of the traffic stop, both suspects were in custody. The physical evidence was collected. The autopsy was complete. The investigation was moving forward. But then, something changed. For weeks after the arrests, the case seemed straightforward. Mitchell had confessed. He'd implicated Powell as the shooter. Both men were charged with second-degree murder. Both were being held in Ouachita Correctional Center. The evidence seemed solid. The prosecution was building its case. Then, in early August 2020, Mitchell changed his story. According to a court document filed in 4th Judicial District Court, Mitchell retracted his statements about Cameron Powell's involvement. Mitchell told investigators that Powell had nothing to do with the robbery or the murder. He said he'd lied about Powell's participation. He said he was the only one responsible for Michael Robinson Jr.'s death. The retraction threw the investigation into chaos. Prosecutors had built their case against Powell based largely on Mitchell's confession. Now, that confession was being recanted. Mitchell was claiming he'd falsely accused Powell. He was saying he acted alone. Investigators reviewed all the evidence again. They examined the physical evidence from the crime scene. They looked at the forensic analysis from the Camaro. They reviewed digital evidence from phones and social media. They re-interviewed witnesses. The conclusion: there was no independent evidence linking Cameron Powell to the crime. The bullet holes in the car didn't point to Powell. The autopsy results didn't identify Powell. The physical evidence from Brown Street didn't implicate Powell. The only evidence against Powell was Mitchell's original confession. And Mitchell was now saying that confession was false. On August 3, 2020, the district attorney's office filed a declination form. Louisiana State Police dropped all charges against Cameron Powell. He was released from Ouachita Correctional Center. The murder charge was dismissed. Powell walked free. The question remained: why had Mitchell initially implicated Powell? Was it to shift blame? Was it to minimize his own role? Was there a previous dispute between them that motivated the false accusation? Mitchell never fully explained his reasoning. Investigators suspected Mitchell had lied to reduce his own culpability, but without additional evidence, they couldn't prove it. The focus shifted entirely to Mitchell. In November 2020, a grand jury indicted him for second-degree murder. The indictment was based on his confession, the physical evidence, and the autopsy results. Mitchell was the driver of the car. Robinson's body was in the trunk. The bullet holes were in the door. Mitchell had admitted to being present during the robbery. The case moved through the court system slowly. Mitchell remained in custody. His bond was set at $500,000. He couldn't post it. He waited in jail for his trial date. His family visited. His lawyers filed motions. The prosecution prepared its case. Nearly 3 years passed. Mitchell remained in custody. Robinson's family waited for justice. The bodycam footage of Mitchell's arrest wasn't released publicly during this time. The video remained sealed as evidence. Only law enforcement, prosecutors, and defense attorneys had access to it. Then in March 2023, Mitchell accepted a plea deal. He pleaded guilty to manslaughter. The second-degree murder charge was reduced. In exchange for the plea, Mitchell avoided a trial. He avoided the possibility of a life sentence. He agreed to accept whatever sentence the court imposed. 4th Judicial District Attorney Steve Tew confirmed the resolution. Mitchell was sentenced to 25 years of hard labor at Louisiana State Penitentiary. No possibility of parole. No reduction for good behavior during the sentence. Hard labor meant physical work as part of the sentence. It was one of Louisiana's harsher sentencing options. Shortly after the sentencing, the bodycam footage was released. It appeared on YouTube and social media almost 3 years to the day after the traffic stop. The public saw it for the first time. The speeding stop, the bullet holes, the trunk opening, the body, Mitchell's shaking hands, his fragmented confession. The video went viral. Millions of views, thousands of comments. People were horrified by what the trooper had discovered. by how close Mitchell had come to successfully disposing of Robinson's body, by how routine the traffic stop had seemed before the trunk opened. Michael Dwayne Mitchell Jr. was 18 years old when he was arrested on July 29, 2020, a resident of Richwood, Louisiana. He had no significant prior criminal record. He was young. He'd made decisions that ended with a 23-year-old man dead in a car trunk. The arrest happened on Louisiana Highway 17 at 4:47 p.m. The trooper handcuffed Mitchell at the scene. He was transported to the Franklin Parish Sheriff's Office for processing. From there, he was moved to Ouachita Correctional Center in Monroe. He was booked on preliminary charges of second-degree murder. At his initial court appearance, Mitchell was advised of the charges against him. A judge set his bond at $500,000. Mitchell's family couldn't afford it. He remained in custody. He would stay in jail for nearly 3 years while his case worked through the court system. During interrogations, Mitchell initially claimed Cameron Powell was the shooter. He said he was just the driver. He said Powell had planned the robbery. But within days, he retracted those statements. He admitted he'd lied. He said he was solely responsible. The false accusation against Powell complicated Mitchell's case. Prosecutors could argue it showed consciousness of guilt, that Mitchell was trying to shift blame, that he was willing to lie to reduce his own responsibility. The retraction also meant Mitchell's credibility was compromised. His statements were inconsistent. His story had changed. In November 2020, a grand jury indicted Mitchell for second-degree murder. Louisiana law defines second-degree murder as the killing of a human being when the offender had specific intent to kill or to inflict great bodily harm. The charge carried a mandatory sentence of life imprisonment without possibility of parole. Mitchell's defense attorneys began preparing for trial. They reviewed the evidence. They examined the body cam footage. They analyzed the autopsy report. They looked for weaknesses in the prosecution's case. They explored possible defenses: diminished capacity, reduced intent, coercion. None seemed particularly strong. The physical evidence was overwhelming. Robinson's body in Mitchell's car, bullet holes in the door, Mitchell's confession on body cam, his admission that he'd loaded the body into the trunk, his statement that he was driving to dispose of it. There was no dispute about what happened. The only question was the legal classification of the crime. Mitchell remained in Ouachita Correctional Center for nearly 3 years. He awaited trial. His family visited when they could. His lawyers filed motions. Prosecutors prepared their case. Robinson's family waited for justice. Then, in March 2023, Mitchell's attorneys negotiated a plea agreement with the district attorney's office. Mitchell would plead guilty to manslaughter instead of second-degree murder. Manslaughter carried a lesser sentence than second-degree murder. It acknowledged Mitchell's role in Robinson's death without requiring proof of specific intent to kill. The plea deal was presented to the court. Mitchell stood before the judge. He formally entered his guilty plea. He admitted his role in the armed robbery that resulted in Michael Robinson Jr.'s death. He accepted responsibility. He waived his right to a trial. The judge accepted the plea. 4th Judicial District Attorney Steve Tew recommended a sentence. The judge imposed 25 years of hard labor at Louisiana State Penitentiary. Mitchell was led out of the courtroom in shackles. He was transported to the state prison to begin serving his sentence. Michael Dwayne Mitchell Jr. is currently serving 25 years of hard labor at Louisiana State Penitentiary in Angola, Louisiana. He was sentenced in March 2023. He will be eligible for release in 2048. He will be 46 years old. The manslaughter conviction meant Mitchell avoided a life sentence. Second-degree murder in Louisiana carries mandatory life imprisonment without parole. By pleading guilty to the lesser charge, Mitchell ensured he would eventually be released. But 25 years is not a light sentence. It's a substantial portion of a human life. The body cam footage of Mitchell's arrest was released shortly after his sentencing. It appeared on YouTube and social media platforms. The video has been viewed millions of times. It shows the moment the trooper discovered Robinson's body. It shows Mitchell's shaking hands, his broken voice when he identified the body as Mike. For Michael Robinson Jr.'s family, the conviction brought some measure of closure. His cousin, Adrian Harris, spoke publicly about the loss. Harris said Robinson was lively and positive. He said Robinson had dreams. He said the family was trying to keep their heads up and pray because they knew Robinson was in a better place and no longer suffering. But Harris also acknowledged the complexity of the tragedy. Robinson and Mitchell knew each other. They came from the same community. Harris told media it was heartbreaking to lose a life to one of our own during a time when the community was fighting racial inequality and violence. Robinson's family held a balloon release at Carroll High School in his honor. Friends and family gathered to remember him. They shared stories. They mourned together. They tried to make sense of senseless violence. A memorial service was held. Robinson was remembered as a graduating senior at Grambling State University, as someone who wanted to become a Louisiana State Trooper, as someone with plans and dreams and a future that was stolen from him. He was 23 years old. He should have graduated. He should have moved to Dallas. He should have submitted that trooper application. Cameron Powell, the man Mitchell initially accused, was never charged after the declination in August 2020. The false accusation damaged his reputation. He spent days in jail for a crime he didn't commit. The experience likely left lasting effects. But he avoided conviction. The charges were dropped before they could destroy his life. The Louisiana State Trooper who made the discovery continues to serve. His name was not publicly released in most media coverage. His bodycam footage became evidence in a major murder case. It captured one of the most disturbing moments of his career. Discovering a body in a trunk during a routine traffic stop is not something easily forgotten. Michael Robinson Jr.'s case illustrates how quickly a life can end, how a routine day can become someone's last day, how a traffic stop can reveal a murder. Robinson woke up on July 29, 2020, with plans and dreams. Hours later, his body was in a trunk. He was 23 years old, weeks from graduation, days from submitting his trooper application. He was careful about his future. He had goals. It wasn't enough.